Hey everyone, this is Gary Smith. Welcome to my channel where I talk about the importance of purpose as it relates to your career, your finances, and your life. Today, I'm absolutely thrilled to share with you a conversation with top-rated coach Glenn Hattem. We're talking about purpose and one's calling in life. I hope you enjoy the video. Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's podcast. I am really honored to be with Glenn Hattem today. Glenn's the #1 life coach in the Boulder, Denver, Colorado area. He's helped thousands of high-achieving professional men and women and their families to revitalize their lives, have more fun, and live their lives with purpose. And he's been featured in such places as NBC, Fox, CBS, the Boston Herald, Market Watch, you name it, he's been there. So Glenn, thanks so much for taking time to be with me today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, me too. And I appreciate the intro. I definitely wish I had died and this was my funeral because I sound great.
All right, well, let's jump right in. We had talked about, the subject we were going to hit today is talking about purpose and one's calling in life. And I guess maybe we can start out by maybe dealing at first with a sort of a philosophical issue, and that is from your perspective and experience. Do you feel that everyone has a purpose or a calling in life?
Absolutely, without a doubt. And obviously, you've written a book on this stuff. So, so let me just say, I love the imagery you actually have on the front of this cover because that's really what it is when one's trying to. I wouldn't say, find their purpose. The discovery process is unraveling something that's always been there, and it's actually it permeates every aspect of your life, your day. Purpose is a lot more, not necessarily about one's vision and contribution to the world, but it's just your nature, your way. And I think a lot of people get hung up on purpose being something they've got to get really clear about it, and it's gonna make them happy. And my experience with purpose is it's discovering your natural way of being in the world, your way of contributing to the world, but how you show up for yourself, how you show up, and how you integrate life's lessons and continue to evolve. And sometimes it gets you in a little bit of trouble in life because it's trying to guide you off the right cliffs, so to speak, the right edges, the ledges that you need to go out and reach out to. And so sometimes, I don't know, there are periods where purpose is like, oh, I wish I didn't have this purpose. I don't know if it's been similar for you and your experiences with purpose, but I think that's what we're going to battle a little bit today. So
yeah, exactly. And I completely agree. I think that everyone does have a purpose. But you're right. It is in many respects, it's not something necessarily that you're trying to achieve in your life. It's something that it is who you are. It's showing up for yourself, and it's really more about becoming than it is doing in many respects. But with that in mind, I mean, why does it seem, and I don't know if you run into this the way I do, but such a high percentage of the people I talk to when I start working with them as a coach either have never really thought about their purpose or their calling in life, and those that have thought about it, for the most part, haven't done anything with it. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that's such a great struggle for people?
I think it has a piece of it. That puzzle has to do with conditioning from our society and our upbringing to follow the path of have to, should, must, need to. This is just the way the world works. And that has got, deeply installed into our subconscious and drives, we have a very, in our society, very fear-oriented way of taking action steps. And as you said earlier, the doing, we become these human doers. And hopefully you graduate, so to speak, in life to understand from your personal experiences stacking up that what's most important is who I'm being or becoming in the doing. And the doing becomes less important. Yes, we all want to achieve things and manifest, wonderful things to celebrate and appreciate in life. But life wasn't just brought here for us to be kind of ants building ant farms. We were here to rise above that and be able to tap into a very authentic expression of ourselves, of truth moving through us with less filtering. And that filtering, gets stacked on through life, and we start to identify with ourselves as being a certain way. In fact, when I meet a new person, I need to introduce myself to you as here are my self-imposed limiting beliefs and frameworks so that you can abide.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And as you were talking there, I was thinking one of my favorite guys in life is Zig Ziglar, and one of the things that his famous quotes was, "You must be before you can do, and you must do before you can have." So really, the first step is being. Who are you, and how do we go about removing those filters so that we can be our authentic self? So, in line with that, Glenn, as you're working with people, how do you get them to rise above and to see that bigger picture and catch that bigger vision of who they can be and who they should be in life?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I do that, but I try to introduce a perspective that's maybe a little bit of an alternate universe when folks come from the place of, I do this, and then I'll have this, and then I'll be this one day. And as you know, you're like, okay, I'm just like this rat, a hamster on a wheel, and I'm never going to really reach that pinnacle. And it starts to be, okay, well, how do I want to enjoy the journey of life, the process of life? Well, maybe I've got to flip some things around, like you just mentioned, which is, it's focusing on the full expression of your authentic self in your doing. And you can actually have the things that you desire. You'll actually more likely, if you're being that guy or gal now, and meaning you become the person that's capable of these things, you'll be developing the perception, the language, the skill sets to attract these things in. And so often, like when certain things haven't arrived, when I work with new clients coming in, they're at a place where there's once again in life, a chapter is perhaps closing and a new one is opening up. Mm-hmm. And there's things that they're discontent with. They've arrived at a place where there's an idea, a possibility of what if this amazing thing could be actually possible for me? Who would I have to become? Because I'm clearly not that person right now with that capacity. So when people hire a coach, as you know, they're looking to stretch themselves, their bandwidth, their capacity. They're here to increase more power, strength, more flexibility with themselves in life. And often a great way to do that is to come to a safe container, creative container with a coach, with someone that's, not as invested as the people as up close and personal with things. And so from a little more of an out of the box standpoint, what I'd like to do is help that person, that individual, step outside of their box and give their own advice to themselves. If they were over here looking at it from this angle, what would their highest self, not the one that's caught in the weeds with everything and reacting, but how would their highest self that was free from constraints and these limits, what would they be saying? What would they be doing? What would that free flowing spirit, as you might want to call it, be able to contribute to steering things in the right direction?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where I think as coaches, there are a lot of misconceptions about what a coach is. Initially, sometimes I have people come to me and they treat me like the answer man, where I'm going to come to you and I'm going to say, Gary, this is my problem, and you're going to say, Glenn, this is your solution. And I have to explain to them, as a coach, I'm not an answer man. I'm a guide, and just as you said, the answers that you're looking for, you already have. It's just my job to help you discover what those answers are, by asking you questions and giving you a different perspective and helping you think about things differently until you have that aha moment that says, wait a minute, this is what it needs to be all about. And I think there's two benefits to that. Number one, it's a process of self-discovery, which is amazing. But number two, in that process of discovery, you own it. It's not I'm telling you what you need to do. You're discovering yourself what you need to do. So now you've got skin in the game. You're invested in this process. And so now the possibility of you being able to move forward and actually be successful goes up exponentially.
Yeah. I mean, from what I'm curious, so in your experience, when you ask these questions, you're removing yourself from one, being the person that comes in and makes bold, high and mighty claims that need to be, now we're going to get in a rebuttal, over that. But by asking questions of curiosity, and past the initial questions, continuing to go further down, asking these questions, you're evoking in someone, they're able to move past the slide of self-doubt into self-inquiry and go, okay, I don't know the answer. I don't know, because initially, it's like, I don't know what I want, or I don't know how to get there. And I don't know if I'm doing things right. You tell me what to do, to motivate me, steer this thing. And it's like, no, hold on to your wheel. Let's ask some deeper, piercing questions to find out why you've covered these answers up with all this other crap, and beneath all that BS, beneath all the automatic reactive type of response to when one's being questioned, they don't have the answers, we tend to push back. And that's okay. That coach, has the strength and capacity to hang there in that inner dilemma that's going on between their ears of, I want to do this, but I can't because of this. And we're there to help with that contrasting part of one another, that it's okay to have this negotiation going on within yourself that's trying to find the answer. And often the people in our lives aren't really, with everything going on and the investment in you being happy and successful. A coach is like the person that's going to come in and not be a yes man. The coach is going to come in and say, well, hang on a second. I feel like we're on to something. They're going to follow their intuition because the coach is listening deeper than what's being said. They're looking for what's not being said.
Exactly.
And trying to, and is paying attention to the theme of the answers, all the heady stuff that's being shared. It's like the coach is really like feeling in and listening to, okay, what's really driving this? What's this really about? What does the person actually really want? It's not this thing out here. So they want to experience maybe greater freedom in their life, and freedom might be like, I want to be out of the prison I've created for myself in some respects.
Yeah,
so absolutely. I think that's the process.
Yeah, it really is, and it's taking that time because some people can get out the shovel and dig down and find that treasure pretty quickly, and others really struggle with it. And you have to be willing to work through that struggle. And as you so put it so well, that inner conflict where we're negotiating with ourselves in this process of self-discovery, so many people see that as negative. And I'm sitting there saying, yes, this is wonderful because it's going to take us ultimately where we want to be. And that's the part that's exciting. And for me, a lot of it too is looking for for either the congruence or the conflict between where you are right now and where you want to be, and who you are and what those core beliefs are that are supporting what's going on. And one silly example that I use is, let's say that you have a purpose in life, or your life's calling is to make a lot of money because you want to be very philanthropic and give a lot of money away to help people around the world. That's a great purpose. That's a great calling in life. But if you have a core belief that says money is the root of all evil, what are the chances that you're going to be able to make that happen? Because you're going to go through life and you're going to be doing this with yourself every single day. You're going to be butting heads and you're going to destroy yourself. So we need to figure out what are the limiting beliefs that are attached to your life. And that's where the BS comes in. We got to shovel through that stuff and figure out what's going on. What do you believe? Why do you believe? What is it that's driven you to believe that? And how do we change those beliefs into things that are empowering in your life, so that you can ultimately become the person you were created to be?
And most importantly, bringing a loving environment to that. So where one is very hypercritical with oneself, being able to work with a coach that can provide that very loving intention to this area. So, because we can be very hard on ourselves about the areas where we're sticky, where things are, and as you just shared there's this intention. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to create these things, but then there's this undertow of the self-saboteur, of the piece of ourselves that's like, well, what if this goes bad? Well, let's make sure it goes bad. Make sure it doesn't work. So there's how do you get every cell and fiber in your being moving towards this new intention, this creation you want to create, and finding out where inside you do you pull out these stops and put these blocks in your way, energetic blocks and storylines that and for a lot of folks it's subconscious, so we have to do quite a bit of inquiry to figure out what's actually going on. So no matter what positive new creation one wants to create, there's also another aspect that's keeping things the same, that's for probably for a really good reason. There's probably a whole bunch of intelligence behind keeping things stable here in this current place, so you don't get into trouble. Because as we create a new solution in our life, we also that new solution breeds the new problems, the next challenges. It doesn't end here. This river keeps going. It's like, okay, I got this problem, I want to solve that. Okay, I came up with a solution, and now the solution breeds the next level, newer, bigger problems to work with. And so part of us, wants to stay small and keep things, like, I'm familiar with this box.
Yeah, exactly. And there are a couple of important things there. Number one, as a coach, I think that bringing that love and that grace into the relationship, because as you said, as human beings, we're great at beating ourselves up and criticizing ourselves and the things that that we haven't achieved or that we haven't become. And one of the things I always try to do is communicate with people to say, hey, there's absolutely no judgment here. It is what it is. Let's take the emotion out of it. Let's face that it is what it is. Okay, now we've recognized it. What are we going to do about it? How do we address it? How do we move forward from here? And I think that's important as far as building the trust in the relationship, so people don't see us as judgmental. They don't see us as condemning in any way. Where I'm just here to help you. And the other thing that I try to focus on, and I'm sure you do the same thing, Glenn, but I'd like you to talk about it, and that is that, like you said, we go through one set of problems. And we move on and we're improving, but as we do, we create a whole new set of problems to be able to deal with. So are we as coaches in that process equipping our coaching clients with the tools that they need to be able to work through the next set of issues. So the last thing in the world I want to do is create a dependent relationship. Every time you have a problem, I don't want you running to me. I want to equip you with the tools. So in effect, I work myself out of a job. You know what to do. You may want to check in every once in a while and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, and this is what I've been through. Am I on the right track? And get a sanity check. But for the most part, I want you to be able to do it on your own.
Gosh, I've dealt with this quite a bit throughout my career. I've been doing this for 3 decades, and one of the gosh, there was an organization, it was a formerly S, things called Landmark, that was really great at promoting independence and breeding dependence. And it was my experience. And we've seen a lot of these things out there, especially in the coaching industry, where if we're really, like you said, if we're here to serve people at the highest level, we actually have to see them at the highest level. We can't, coaching is different than a therapist. Coaching is, I'm seeing you for what's possible. And right. I'm seeing you in what you're observing as your brokenness or stuckness in this particular category or area, not being the whole thing, but in a particular area, there's some desire to want to fix some problem that's been, the answer or solution's been very evasive. And the intention, when at least I can speak for myself, when I come into a scenario with a client, it's how do I, again, with questions, with versus statements, with questions, there's a time for naming and giving feedback on, hey, this is when I hear this is what I'm experiencing of you. How does it land for you when I tell you this is what I'm experiencing? So there's a place of coming in with a personal responsibility for myself, my thoughts, my emotions that are moving through me and stirring me, and allowing them, when we're going to be in interaction, to take the same level of responsibility. So in us engaging around a conversation around something that's a challenge, moving from a problem I need to fix to a challenge to like, okay, what type of environment or ideas would that problem probably go away on its own? And I've had experience with, just even from I gave a physical experience here. I had a client of mine years back that loved to smoke cigarettes, and rather than tell him to stop smoking cigarettes, I would have him run stadium stairs, and then I would offer him a cigarette right afterwards. Say, why would I want to do that when I'm breathing so good? I'm like, you tell me. So I put people a little bit more in the frying pan with things at times as necessary. But it's having someone just come to that, like you said earlier, like having someone arrive at that aha moment where it's like, duh, no brainer. And then moving into a new way of being, it's like, okay, I don't have all the how to figured out, and that's okay. Maybe I only need to know like the next step of the staircase. I don't need to know the whole thing. And, I just was out climbing Devil's Tower in Wyoming this last week. And, a lot of the environment climbing up this vertical climb was, what's my next move? And then when I get out there, I might be able to see something else revealed to me. And I'd have to take this leap of faith, knowing that even my mistakes are going to offer me something, my unawareness of what lies out further on, but that the how to is going to be revealed to me over the course of my efforts. And so I'm going to have to put forth a certain degree of effort as I want to climb in life. And at the same time, I need to also surrender to just being in the process and being in the moment, and trusting my body to move in the way like trust the intelligence that's inside this body. I always tell folks, there's like, think of like an acorn. It's got the history of all the trees that came before it, and it also tells the future story of what's about to come. And so in the present moment, in our body is all the ancestral lineage, all the history, all the support, all this stuff, and also like where we're going and us being okay and everything kind of panning out and working out for for us, that this difficult person or difficult situation is happening for us, not at us and punishing us and contributing to this bigger mess. And I always like the story of the white horse, where I don't know if you've heard that story, where a farmer is hanging out talking to his neighbors, and the neighbors are like, "Hey, where did you get that white horse?" And like, just stumbled upon my property. And like, "Oh, lucky you." And the farmer said, "Maybe." And a couple of weeks later, he's out talking to the neighbors, and like, "What happened to your beautiful horse?" Like, "Ran away." "Oh, what terrible luck for you." And the farmer says, "Maybe." And then a couple months later, it's out talking to the neighbors, like, where did you get all these horses?" Like, "The white horse came back and brought all these other horses." "Lucky you." And the farmer says, "Maybe." And then I don't know, a couple months later, the neighbors are talking with him again out at the fence, and they're like, "What happened? I heard your son fell off the horse. What terrible luck." "Maybe," the farmer says. A couple months later, a couple weeks, whatever it is, neighbors are out the fence talking to him, and they're like, "Wow, we've all the commander of the territory has asked all the young men to go off to battle, and lucky you that your son doesn't have to go off to battle." And then of course, maybe the farmer's saying, "Well, I don't know, maybe I would be stuck with my son here for a long time." Like, life's a river, life's a flow, and if we stare at the rock, sometimes we miss the full effect of things, and that things are changing. Again, we talked earlier about this problem is leading to this solution, leading to these problems, leading to and it goes on. So you might solve this thing with all your intention and all your efforts, and you get resolved with this. It's like, finally, this thing is not ruling me anymore. And your mind has to go to, but this thing is bothering me. And so it never ends, and so how can we change our relationship to these things? And going back to purpose, how can we, just embody a way of looking at things and experiencing life that just kind of has that maybe attitude of, whatever thing's happening for me, helping me out, and everything's going to be all right. And the more we can jump back to that space, I always reference, there's Glenn here, but there's the I am Glenn that animates Glenn, this vehicle, this vessel for love and expression in the world. But the I am is before it hits the filtering system that Glenn, who's limited and looks at the world a certain specific way from conditioning, that the I am that sits in this kind of ivory tower of safety and observation, awareness, is always good and can really dance more with life. And in fact, maybe I often use, just got to learn how to surf better in life. It's like life is waves, and you got to learn how to sit on your board when there's nothing and the water is flat. You got to enjoy the fun waves when they come. And then there are those spooky ones as well too. And they're there to teach you something as well. And so if we can just learn how to ride things a little bit better and realize we are a rock hurling through space, we don't have as much control over things as we'd like to. And maybe if we can let go of control and trust that life is moving through us, and that we're here to just have maybe a different witnessing of it, that getting some, like I said earlier, like there's the ants in the ant farm working away, busy bees, or getting some altitude and perspective of like, okay, I'm looking down at this Monopoly board and I can engage with that and get properties and cars and move things around and invest here and there. But I can also choose to not really play the game too. At times I can choose to just be like, I'm going to take a break from the board game and just appreciate life, appreciate all that I have, coming from a place of gratitude with what I have, or the challenges in my life, being appreciative of the challenge. I've got this person in my life who's really getting under my skin. Rather than distracting myself with them, I can go, why is it they're getting under my skin? And that's where the coach comes in and asks those curious questions of like, why is it they're getting under your skin? Like, what is it you don't want to feel? what is it you don't want to experience? How is that just a recent thing, or is this energy old and been with you for some time? Like, where does this originate? And then one can start to kind of, rather than just looking at an iceberg and addressing things at a superficial level, they can kind of go deeper and deeper to the root cause of things. And then impacting things at the root can actually impact all the other superficial levels up. So rather than coming in like a doctor is like, oh, coughing and sneezing, take 2 of these. Rather than dealing with these symptoms or reacting to others and everything, it's like, okay, what's getting stirred in me that wants attention, and what's that about? Now, when we're busy in the world, caught up in trying to get everything done in a day, it's hard to put the focus and attention there. So going to a coach and having that time out to step back, pause, breathe, and look at things from a deeper level. It's like, okay, hey coach, I'm here to do my work, my deep work. I'm here to like really take full responsibility and look at like, what does this have to do with me versus them or the situation?
Wow. There is so much rich stuff in what you just said in the last few minutes, Glenn. I mean, we could dig in that and probably spend hours, hours going through this stuff. But it's powerful. It's powerful sharing as we really learn to face ourselves, to remove those filters, to understand who we really are. And as you said so eloquently, I mean, that's the coach's job, is to help us peel the layers of that onion away, to discover the true essence of our being, and to realize that every experience that we have in life, the good, the bad, the ugly, is there for a reason. And much of our ability to be able to progress and grow in life, it is dependent upon our perspective and how we look at it. Do we look at it from the standpoint of, oh my goodness, something terrible's happened? Or do we look at it and say, okay, this is a great opportunity to learn something. I'm going to become stronger in working through this, and ultimately I'm going to come out the other side a better, stronger, more capable person if I just look at it the right way and learn to ask myself the quality questions that I need to. And that's where the coach can help, is teaching you, how do you ask those quality questions? And by asking and probing and saying, tell me more, let's dig a little bit deeper here. And let's get down, as you said, let's get down to the root of the problem. It's like, I got dandelions in my yard. I can go out and I can chop the head off the dandelion, and guess what? It's going to come back next week. Until I dig down and either kill or dig out that root, it's not going to change. And our lives are no different. We can learn so much from nature. And to your point about climbing, so much of the time I think people want to be in a position where everything is mapped out for them step by step by step. And they need to realize that, that it's not, life wasn't designed to be that way. Life is full of risks, but life is meant for us to take risks. So you start the climb and you get to a point and you begin looking around and saying, okay, here's my options. What's the best one to get me from where I, am to where I want to be? But you don't have the answer until you get to that point and you start looking around and seeing what's going on in your world. And I think that's, those sorts of things are where coaches can be really, really valuable. So with that, let's wrap up our conversation here. Why don't you just talk a little bit about, about what you do and where people can connect with you, because you bring so much value to this marketplace. It's just incredible.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not the best self-promoter, so really go to my website, go to glennhattem.com, GLENNHATTEM.com. There's all kinds of good nuggets there. You can check out my 1% podcast, where I interview a lot of experts in the industry. There's a lot of really great content there to just peel back the onion of some of the things that are going on in your life currently. I think that there's some people just are pretty raw and real. I just had a former pastor of a big church that was on there the other day, and I get a lot of business entrepreneurs and experts that that just really want to help people, by sharing some of their bumps along what looks on the outside as a smooth path, but are very revealing as far as the hard journey and the hard work that has to be put in, and then through that, the peace of mind and the awareness that comes from those momentary challenges. And so I have also another series called the Coachable Coach series, where you got to watch me get my butt kicked by my coaches. I've been working with a number of coaches throughout the years. It's been a big investment on my part, but I can't expect to stretch and challenge my clients by not really pushing my envelope fully. So, even I was just sharing how I was climbing Devil's Tower, which is a behemoth rock, this last week. And it was messy. I actually have some videos up of me, like, my guide's above me and he's like, "Glenn, how you doing?" And I look up and I'm like, fuck, I bang my head against the wall. Cause it's just, I didn't want to talk to the camera. I didn't want to talk to him. And so my coach is just, he's got to smile and relax into it and help me get the next couple inches, of the climb. And so I like to put myself out there. I was a very private person. And so I like to ride my edges and take on crazy feats and show, hey, if I can do this, a big knucklehead like myself, then you can do your thing that inspires you, and you can push through those hard pieces of work and challenges with your projects in your life that don't always go down the way you want them to. But so anyways, I have those are great resources for people to just get a feel me and the work that I do. And I have a unique Amplify Your Life program that I have that's it's a customized program for the individual. But I work with an individual, they go through my program, they go through my certifications, and then their families get kind of grandfathered into the program. Meaning like, hey, if I'm here helping you, it's about impact and about how it can help, whether it's your kids or your parents, your siblings, really just want to help you in your sphere of influence at the highest level. And so, there's a lot of great stuff on the website, but I'm also on social media, like Hattem Glenn. I think we've got 50,000 plus followers on Instagram and Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. So
cool. Well, that's great. Glenn, thanks so much for taking time today. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for sharing your wisdom and experience and being so transparent with everybody. It's really amazing. And I just, I value your friendship and look forward to staying connected with you.
Absolutely. The same. Yeah. Thank you, Gary. Thank you everybody for listening. And hopefully you got a couple nuggets of wisdom there, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks so much for taking the time to be with me today. If you found this video to be insightful, if you got some little nugget of gold that you can take and put to work in your life right away, will you please hit the like button, and also take a moment to share in the comments what you learned from this video today, what you found valuable. Also, if this kind of content resonates with you, if you're interested in learning more about how to live a happy, successful, fulfilled life, hit subscribe, and that way you'll be notified anytime we publish new content. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you in the next video.